disconnected.
I was never one for superstitions or ghost stories. So when I inherited my uncle's house in the countryside after his sudden passing, I didn't pay much attention to the local tales. It was a sizable 2-story wooden house, nestled among a dense patch of trees. My uncle had lived there for most of his life, alone, following the tragic death of his wife. Moving in, I felt a sense of calm. The chirping birds, the rustling leaves, and the peace that comes with solitude. It was perfect for my work as a writer. The only inconvenience was the lack of cell reception, forcing me to use the landline for all communications. The first few weeks were serene, but then things took a turn. I started getting calls, usually after midnight. Each time I picked up, I'd hear a muffled voice, speaking in a whisper I couldn't comprehend. The voice sounded eerily familiar, and though I couldn't make out the words, the pain in the tone was palpable. It left me unnerved. Thinking it was a prank, I unplugged the landline before sleeping. That should have been the end of it. The next night, just past midnight, the phone rang again. Confused and slightly perturbed, I approached the unplugged phone and picked up. The whispering continued, now louder, more desperate, but this time, among the unintelligible murmurs, I discerned 3 words repeated several times. Behind the walls. I was frozen in shock, unable to comprehend what was happening. Deciding I had to investigate, I started with the living room walls. Hours turned into days as I systematically tapped each section, listening for any hollow sounds. Finally, behind the large portrait of my uncle and his wife that hung in the study, I found something. Tapping produced a distinct echo. Armed with a crowbar, I tore down the wooden panels. Inside was a small, hidden space containing an old, discolored diary. The writing was erratic, entries filled with ramblings of loneliness, despair, and guilt. The entries from the last few months of my uncle's life were particularly disturbing. The voice won't stop. It's her. She's calling out to me every night behind the walls. I can't find her, but she sounds so close. I shouldn't have left her alone that night. I can still see the fire, hear her screams. If only I hadn't been at the bar. If only I could have saved her. The realization hit me hard. My uncle lived with an overwhelming guilt. His wife had perished in a fire while he was out, drinking his sorrows away. The weight of the guilt had caused him to imagine her voice, haunting him, seeking solace. Shaken, I left the study, deciding to leave the house the next morning. As I drifted to sleep, the phone rang again. Heart pounding, I answered. The whispering voice was back, now clear, full of agony. "Thank you," it whispered before fading away. I sold the house shortly after, but never disclosed the events of that night. The buyer, an elderly lady, seemed thrilled with her purchase. As we finalized the paperwork, she casually mentioned that she was a medium and felt a strong connection to the house. I only hope she found whatever my uncle was looking for.